Well, good morning and welcome to our devotional time. And as I said Monday, we would move from Cain to the other side of the coin, so to speak, to look at Seth and his line. And I'm basically just going to talk about Eve's learning process in this. And when the third son was born, the scriptures tell us Adam knew his wife again, and she gave birth to a son, and she named him Seth. Because God has granted me Seth over the other offspring in place of Abel, whom Cain had killed. I'm reading this out of a Hebrew translation, so it sounds a little strange here. But what I want to notice here is that Seth is looked at as a child very differently in Eve's mind. Seth, if you have a Strong's Concordance, in the Hebrew section, it's Seth's Hebrew word is 8352, and it means provided or granted. And that's, I think, incredibly important that we get some understanding about, I think, the road that Eve and I assume Adam walked, coming to this place where their son was murdered by Cain, their other son. And can you imagine the heartache that these two parents went through in this? You know, how do they relate to Cain now? What do you do in this? And I imagine there was a lot of soul searching that went on with Adam and Eve as they walked through this tragic period in their life. And we see that they came through the other side very changed people. And Eve's attitude, if you'll go back and read the birth of Cain and Abel, it's almost like Eve says, look what I produced. Now, obviously, she gave God glory, but there was more, look at me, look what I've produced, look what I've birthed. And, it's a very exciting time, and I see, I can understand that, and maybe I'm reading a little more into it than I should. But there's very different attitude here, and even in the naming of Seth as the third child, provided or granted. And the way the Hebrew's arranged is pretty clear that there's quite a bit of a different attitude in Eve's words here, and where she's come to this place where she knows that this parenting thing, that this mama with child in my home is not going to last, that it's not forever, that God has granted her this gift that won't be around forever. Obviously, we see the tragedy here, but for all of us parents, we're at some point in time going to be confronted by this same kind of notion here, that we come to this place of this is my child. No, not really. Yes, your mom and dad, but this child that I've been granted is a gift from God, and they're not going to be with me forever. And I don't need to claim sole ownership of them. Obviously, I can claim some blood relative. I can claim some key and pivotal moments in their life, but they're not my playthings. They're not my things. They're not my property. They are they're given. They are acquired, and I think that Eve, as she came into this lesson, that humbled her and allowed her, and I'm going to say liberated her, in her attitudes, and brought her to a place that, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I can grow a garden that'll produce tenfold fruit, but that's. I shouldn't, or be careful that I don't look back and say, look what I did. Everything that comes, that's produced out of my life, comes from God, and it truly belongs to God. And my possessions are truly God's possessions. And everything under the sun is belongs to God. And I think that was liberating for Eve to remember that. And I think it helps us as we learn that lesson to say, all that I have belongs to God, and it keeps us humble. It keeps us from, I think, a good example would be, I remember a good friend of mine who bought a car, and a friend of ours leaned up on his car one evening as we were talking, and my friend just flew off the handle and got mad. And for weeks, I couldn't visit with those two friends together because the one who had the nice car had gotten so mad at this person leaning against the car that they couldn't. They just didn't want to talk to them because they leaned on my car. They leaned on my car. They could have dented it. They could have scratched it. And I think that's an attitude of possession where, as we move into Eve's car, we want people to be careful with with the property we have. If we have a car, certainly we can ask our friends to be careful. But do we need to fly off the handle and maybe not speak to them, break a relationship because what we consider our property, which is really, again, a gift from God, acquired through gifts from God, finances, cars, whatever they may be, that kind of liberates us from saying, oh, it's okay, because really, in some ways, we could say God's ultimately responsible. And so if he wants to knock out the bump or repaint the car, then he can take care of that, and we don't have to worry about that. So I'll leave us with that today, with the lesson that Eve learned, where she began to let go of her possessions and give God more the glory for the gifts that he gives. And I think we should have that attitude as well. We have a great day, and I pray God's blessings. I hope to see you Sunday. Bye now.